Well, welcome, everybody. Those of you who are brave enough to come out in the rain. It rained hard this morning. So glad that you've joined us. I am Reverend Jennifer Spear. We are Living Beyond Limits, a part of Centers for Spiritual Living. And if you are new to us today, from the very bottom of our hearts to yours, we're so glad that you joined us. Welcome. And so let's begin by reading our mission statement that's on the front of your bulletin. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. So that's what's happening here at Living Beyond Limits, as we are giving ourselves the opportunity through the talks and the readings and the music and all that we do here to step back into our true essential nature, to remember who it is that we are and what it is that we are primarily spiritual beings, that one presence, that one power, that one life, that one energy that is the very energy of love and wholeness and power and goodness, that is what we have come from, and it is what we have come as. It is what we have come here to do and to be on this planet. Because what happens is, as we awaken to the fact that is the truth of who we are, regardless of what's happening in the world, it puts us in a place of power and a place of choice. Then, when the world is not being peaceful, we can show up as peace. When the world is not being loving, we can bring love into the situation. When the world is telling us that we are somehow less than or not enough, or you have those old messages of less than or not enough that play in your head, you can stand in the truth of your own wholeness and your own power that can never be diminished, that can never be shifted or moved, that is always present. We come to the world differently then, and we are able to come to the world as more of a beneficial presence then, and then we create and bring with us a healing energy wherever we go. And because we are part of and connected to everyone and everything, as we evolve, as we grow and expand and become more of our true self in this world, it actually affects the whole, because everything is connected to everything else. And so I thank each one of you for walking this path, for saying yes to your own spirit, and to bringing your spirit into this world in a way that changes and shifts and acts as a beneficial presence. Thank you for that. You might have noticed that living in today's world feels a little stressful. You think? With the injustices that we see, and cruelty and lawlessness, with wars and the threat of annihilating an entire population of people, with facts and truths being covered up to protect the guilty, it can feel super, super distressing. And those things that cause us distress seem to be even harder when it continues day after day, something new is being added to whatever has been going on. Mark Nepo, though, says suffering has a way of waking us up. It reveals what matters most. And so those things are distressing to us because they point to the fact that what's going on is out of alignment with our most deeply held values, with what is important to us as spiritual beings. It points out that it's out of alignment with what's important to us at our deepest level. So what if then the purpose of the things that are happening in this world are really to call you deeper into your spiritual path? What if they are to clarify for us our most deeply cherished values and speak to us and remind us of what is most important to our heart, to our spirit, to our own divine nature, that divine within us? What if underneath everything that's happening is an invitation from life itself and an invitation from our own soul to be the change we wish to see in the world? What if it's an invitation to us to shine our light where we might not otherwise shine our light? What if it's an invitation for us to really be who we have come here to be and who we truly are at our core? You know, as spiritual beings, we are meant to grow. We are meant to evolve. We are meant to unfold our own potential. And we do that through learning. We do that through experiences in our life. We go through experiences and we gain insight, and then we apply that to us and to our lives. So when we move into our next experience, we come differently, and we come with greater wisdom and insight, and oftentimes with a greater inner part of ourselves being expressed in the world that hadn't been revealed before. That's why we aren't the same as we were today when we were 5 years old, or 15, or 35. You know, we change. We're not the same because we've gone through these experiences and gained all this insight, and then we come to the world differently. The purpose of us having experience is so that we evolve, so that we grow. And so one of the ways I think that we participate in our own evolution and in our own growth is really just to be fully engaged with whatever is that's going on, with whatever's happening, that we are fully engaged and participating by bringing presence to what it is that we're doing, by bringing awareness, being aware in the moment, full awareness. We grow and participate in our own evolution when we are willing to change, when we are willing to become more of who we are in our potential. I look at myself and how much I have grown since I started doing ministry and since I started this path. I am such a different person than I was. I am so much more open-hearted and have this sense of connection with everyone and everything, even the people that I don't know. I have become more generous. I've become more grounded. I've become probably kinder. There's lots of changes. And I also look at the things that I would call negative experiences in my life and how much they have grown me. Relationships that I've been in that weren't very good for me, and how I came out of them, and now I'm a different person of what I expect and how I treat myself and what I will accept, all sorts of changes. I look at COVID and how hard that was for me. If you don't know, I work 2 days a week as a hairdresser. Salons were closed for 8 months during that period. We had to quit doing church. We did church on Zoom. We did recorded in my living room. Then we started meeting at the park, spaced out from each other with masks on. But you know what came out of that? I am so much more flexible than I was beforehand. I learned flexibility, and because I learned to be more flexible, I am so much peaceful. Life is so much easier when I'm flexible, and because I'm flexible, that means I don't have to control everything. I can allow people to be who they are, to be doing what they're doing, and that allows them to give their expression to this world instead of me controlling what's happening. You know, as spiritual beings, we come here with this need to be who we are in our potential, to be all that we can be, to be who we are on the inside. And on top of that, because we are spiritual beings living this human experience, we actually want to have that experience of being connected to everyone. We want to have that experience of being connected to each other and to humanity, to life, to spirit, to the whole of things. And we want to express love. That's our spirit calling our name. And so I think one of the things that keeps us from experiencing that connection, from expressing our love, is when we spend so much time, sometimes just in our heads, defending our position, talking to ourselves about how they are wrong and I am right. We defend our perspective, and it keeps us really from being open-hearted, from being connected, from being loving, from being those things that our spirit wants to be. And a second thing that we do is we keep ourselves so distracted that we aren't really present with what's in front of us. We don't bring our presence to what we're doing. I mean, you think about it. We're so distracted in our heads and what we're doing and on our phones and whatever you're doing. Do you really see the cashier that's ringing you up? Are you really present with that cashier? Do you bring presence to that moment? The person that gives you your drink at Starbucks, do you bring presence to that moment? And when the world feels painful, we spend even more time distracting ourselves, I think, so that we don't feel so overwhelmed. We spend hours on our phones scrolling, and we play games on our phone, and we look at social media, and we go shopping online or in real life. We use substances that help us escape what's going on. But did you ever notice you do those things distracting yourself, and when you put that stuff down, the instant that you put it down, the pain and the distress pops its head right back up. It hasn't gone anywhere. It hasn't shifted it. It hasn't done anything with it. It was like you took out this little time, but boy, it pops its head right back up and there it is. And so what if, instead of distracting ourselves, what if instead we recognize that the discomfort is actually a call from our own spirit to engage in the world in a different way, to engage with the world in a deeper way? What if it's a call for us to be more real, to be more heart engaged, and to come from that place when we're out in the world? What if, when we recognize that there is suffering going on in the world, we asked ourselves, instead of talking about how awful it is and complaining about it and being horrified by it, yes, you can do those things, but what if then we asked ourselves, what is being called for right here in this situation? And then we recognized what's being called for, and then we brought that very same energy to the world. Maybe not in that situation, but you brought that same energy to your circle of influence, to the people in your life, to the people that you run into while you're out doing your life. So you might not be able to bring it to that particular situation, but you can bring that same thing that's being called for to something within your reach. You can... So let me say this. So I'll give you an example. So you might not be able to assist the citizens of Iran. You might not be able to tell them, you might not be able to comfort them. You might not be able to tell them that they too are part of this one human family and that you care. You might not be able to tell them, but you can tell someone else that you wouldn't normally say that to. You can show that through your actions with someone you might not normally share that with, that they are valuable, that you care, that they are part of this one human family. You might not be able to bring that, what you need, to the exact situation. You might not be able to solve inequality, but you can treat every single person that you meet on the streets with dignity, and you can treat them as equals. You might not be able to fix poverty, but you can tutor a student that will help them lift themselves out of poverty as they get older. You can support organizations that lift people up and help them. One of the organizations that I support is Women for Women International, that gives small loans to women starting businesses in other countries. Small businesses, raising chickens and selling eggs. But they give loans to that. You can help lift someone up. You can be generous in the world with people that have less than you, and you can do it with an open heart. You can't fix everyone's pain, but you can be present, you can be patient, you can be kind with the people that are near you. You can bring what's needed to your circle, to your immediate environment. Does that make sense? You can't bring the energy that's needed over here, but you can bring the same exact energy over here. And you know what? Because we're all connected, it makes a difference. And so I'd like to share a story with you. It says, the news played softly in the cafe, stories of conflict, division, and uncertainty, blending into the background noise most people had learned to ignore. Daniel sat staring at a screen, feeling the familiar mix of frustration and helplessness. The world felt sharper than it should be, less patient, less kind. And worse, he could feel himself shrinking in response, more guarded, more cynical, less willing to care. What's the point, he thought. One person can't change any of this. At the table next to him, a small misunderstanding grew tense. Two strangers arguing over a shared outlet, their voices tightening just enough to shift the energy in the room. Like everyone else, Daniel almost ignored it. That was the rule now. Stay out of it, protect your space, don't get involved. But another thought cut through. If the world feels harsher, is this where something better is being asked of me? Not later, but here, now. He turned slightly towards them, not interrupting, but softening the space. Hey, he said with a gentle smile, there's another outlet on the other side of this pillar. I missed it at first, too. It didn't solve anything big, but it changed the moment. Both paused, the tension loosened, one stepped back, the other nodded. A quiet, oh, thanks, replaced what could have escalated. The air shifted just a little. Daniel turned back to his laptop, but something in him felt different. The world hadn't only shown him what was wrong, it had shown him where he was needed. Not in grand gestures, but in small moments where it would be easiest to withhold his best self. Patience, empathy, and the choice to respond instead of react. The world's problems weren't just things to watch from a distance. They were constant, quiet invitations, asking who he would choose to be. He took a sip of his coffee as the cafe noise settled back in around him. Nothing outside had been fixed, but something inside had been answered. And maybe that's how it begins. Not all at once, but one moment at a time. Each one asking us to show up as our best selves, especially when it's hard. We have a spiritual need to be that, to be the space for healing, to be the place of love and peace and inclusion and unity. So what if the things that are going on in our world today are really to make us aware of the values of the one infinite spirit, those that live within us? They're the same values as our spirit, and to bring that into the world and make those things real in this world. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this philosophy, said, "It is not something that we are evolving into, but rather we are evolving from. We are becoming more and more aware of something which existed before we were even conscious of it. We are giving way to the love of the universe. We are giving way to that presence that is a presence of peace and unity and goodness. The challenges and the difficulties of the world aren't calling us to be something different than we are. They're calling us to be more of what we are. They're calling us to open up and to let that come forward that's already been implanted in us from the very beginning. And so the title of this message today is All That and More, as in we are all that and more in any given moment. And I'm talking about that every single thing in our lives is an invitation to be who we truly came here to be. It's not about reaching a final state. It's not about a distant goal. Instead, it's just about moving toward the depth of our true nature. So I think there are three things that really keep us from doing that. And the first thing is, like I'd said, not being present. We can't be that beneficial presence in the world if we're not being present. And when I say being present, I mean body, mind, and heart present in any given moment. To bring our whole selves to what it is that we're doing. Not being in our heads, not being in the past, not being in the future, not being in our judgments, because that certainly keeps us from being present when we're in our judgments. But to be who we came here to be, we have to be fully present with whatever it is we're doing. You know, sometimes that shows up like as an argument with your spouse. You know, when you're doing that, you don't have your full self present. Your ego's present, your old stories are present, the fullness of yourself isn't present. When someone is annoying to you and you're full of judgment about who and what they are, your full self is not present. Your ego's present, your opinions are present, but your heart and fullness of yourself aren't present in that moment. So it takes presence, showing up as the fullness of ourselves, mind, heart, spirit, all at the same time, in order to be who we've come here to be. And the second thing is that it takes mindfulness. It takes being aware of when in our own heads we are creating separation, where we are creating otherness, where we are raising up walls between ourselves and another person. You know, I think when we get caught up, and we do this all the time as human beings, we get caught up in our perspective is right, the way that we see things in the world is right, and the way other people see things or do things, it is wrong. And when we get caught up in that perspective, we put up this wall of separation between the two of us. And it's kind of like having a chain link fence. You know, all of our thoughts and our opinions and our rightness and our judgment are like BBs. They go right through that chain link fence we put up. But our love and our spirit are more like softballs. They can't get through that chain link fence. And so what happens, that means then, is we must open ourselves a little wider. Like you must stretch out those pieces of chain link fence. We have to open ourselves, being present, being mindful of what we're telling ourselves, so that our spirit and our heart can come through. And we do that, we open those chain links up really just by seeing through the perspective of our heart and our spirit, instead of only looking at life through the perspective of our ego. And when we do that, then we can shine our light. Then we can bring good to the moment. Then we can be a healing presence. And the third thing that we can do in order to be who we've truly come here to be is simply to remember who we are. To remember that we are outpicturings of that one infinite beingness, of that one presence, that we are spiritual beings of the living spirit itself, that we are here to discover that and to give way to that so that we might be the fullness of ourselves in this lifetime. Life always is enabling us to become who we already are, at the center of our being and who we've come to be. And so I would like to invite you right now to do a little visioning process with me. You have a green insert. I invite you to take that out. If you don't have one, or if you need a pen, will you raise your hand, please? And so I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and just to recognize that, yes, at your core, you are a spiritual being. That you have come out of that infinite beingness here as an individualized expression of that, here to be all that you have come to be. And so I know that there is a depth within each one of us that is so far beyond ego, beyond our stories, beyond our experiences. It is the very essence of who we are. And that part of ourselves, our spirit, has come here with a mission. It has come here with a goal. It has come here to be something in this world. And so I invite you to listen within to that part of yourself in the stillness, the part of yourself that is your own eternal beingness, the I am within you, and to ask, who or what is it that I have come here to be? Who have I come here to be? What have I come here to be? And to ask yourself, what does who I've come here to be and what I've come here to be, what does that look like? Or what does it feel like? Who or what have I come here to be, and what does that look like or feel like? And to go ahead and write down what came to you. It might be pictures, it might be images, it might be words, it might just be a feeling, it might just be a sense of openness. And when you're done with that question, I invite you just to close your eyes and to turn back within to that place within you of absolute knowingness, the fullness of your spiritual nature. And to ask that knowingness within your side, inside of you, in order to be this, what must I embrace? In order to bring this forward, in order to be who I've come here to be, what must I embrace? Richard Rohr said, "Life is a matter of becoming fully and consciously who we already are." But it is a self that we largely do not know. It is as though we are all suffering from a giant case of amnesia. The protagonist in so many fairy tales are already nobles, royals, daughters and sons of kings or gods. But their identity is hidden from them, and the storyline pivots around that discovery. Your life is pivoting around that discovery for you, that we are here discovering and giving way to who we really are and who we've come here to be. And so my invitation to you, one, is to practice presence. When you are somewhere, and especially somewhere that's challenging, bring the fullness of yourself to the moment. Be present, mind and heart and spirit and body, and to do that as you go about your day, but especially when things are challenging. And practice mindfulness. Recognize when you're coming from fear. Recognize when you are practicing otherness, they are other than you, where you're believing that your way of thinking or being or doing is the only right way. And do some sort of spiritual practice that helps you stay consciously connected to your own spirit, to your own inner beingness, to the living spirit of which you are a personification of. Do something that helps you stay connected to that. And as a result of that, you'll be living on purpose, and you'll be being who you've come here to be. And so blessings to each and every single one of you as you walk this path of awakening, this path of remembering, and this path of bringing your spirit and your light into this world in only a way that you can, and a way that makes a difference. Thank you all for that. Blessings to you. And so I invite you right now to join me in an affirmative prayer. And so we turn our attention from this world of form and turn our attention to the capital T truth, that there is one presence, one power, one spirit, one life, one beingness, one energy, and it is everywhere present. And that energy is the very energy of love. It is the substance of wholeness and of power and of good without bound. Its very essence is peace and unity and oneness and belonging and embracing, supporting, buoying. That presence is right here, closer than our very breath. And not only is it all around us, it is within us, and it is the very essence of who and what we are. And so I know that today there is something calling to our hearts and our souls, something that we have come here to be, some way that we have come here to be, some way that we are shining our spirit into both our own lives and our own experience, uplifting ourselves and shining it into this world in a way that uplifts and supports and shows up as care and kindness and compassion and belonging, and shows up as the truth that we are one family of humanity. And so I recognize and know that not only is this presence right where we are, but it is right at the center of every single person. It is at the center of every business, of every home. It is at the center of every decision that is being made. It is at the center of every conversation that is being had. It is at the center of every heart longing, leading us and guiding us into a world that works for everyone. That is the leading of our spirit. That is the leading of this one divine presence. And so I know that it is having its way today in and through and as each and every single one of us, in and through and as this body of humanity. And of course, I speak this word also about every single politician, every single world leader, every single decision maker, that the intelligence that holds these cosmos in place right now is revealing itself through their thoughts and through their actions. They are each being led from the highest knowing that already exists within them, even if they've never seen it before. That still is right within them right now. And so we recognize that there are facts, things that are happening in the world, and at the same time, there is the capital T truth. Absolute intelligence, love without end, infinite potentiality, and all of that is revealing itself through the hearts and the minds and the hands and the feet of humanity right now. And so I lean into that, and I hold that to be the truth. For I know that as that is part of my thinking and part of my belief, it is magnified in this world. And so we each magnify that right now with our consciousness and with our saying yes to that. And so we say yes. And so I release this prayer into that creative law of the universe, knowing that it is unfolding itself all around us because it is the truth. Today we recognize it, we invite it forward, and we embody it. And I say, and so it is. And so I do have some invitations for you. One is we're late in advertising and telling you about this, but we're having a pancake breakfast next week. Is it next week? Next week after service, we're having a pancake breakfast fundraiser. It is at Chris and Peggy's house. If you want to come and don't have the address, we can get you the address. It is a you set the price, and we'll be having pancakes and deviled eggs and sausage and bacon and fruit and all that stuff, and hanging out and visiting and playing with each other and having a good time. So I invite you to come to that next week after service. We are meeting April 23rd to have a discussion on the book that we've been reading, Alan Levi's Theo of Golden. You still have time to read it between now and April 23rd if you want to join us.
Too long a book to start now.
I don't know about that. Depends how fast you read. Huh? Yeah. So you're invited to join us. We're going to meet at Sharon Baker's house. We'll give you the address before then, and we're going to bring a sack lunch so we can have lunch and talk about the book. And she'll provide dessert. We're doing a Mother's Day outreach project. We are going to be supplying the mothers that are staying at Long Beach Women's Shelter with toiletry items. There is a list on the back table, a sign-up sheet and a list of the items that they're asking for. They need to be turned in on May 5th here on a Sunday, and then they will get distributed from there. Are you putting them in? Are we to put them in gift bags and that kind of thing?
No, it's May 3rd, I think.
May 3rd. May 3rd. So just choose the items that you want, and then Barbara will bag them up for us. That's because I was reading the date on the next thing. We're having a women's movie festival. It's going to be at Joy Jane's house. We did this last year. It was super fun, where we watched several shorts that are produced or directed or filmed by women, starring women, about women, and watch them and talk about them, and it was super, super fun. So we're going to be doing that at 5 p.m. on May 5th. If you'd like to join us, we'll get these addresses out there to everybody. Our Sunday talks are available online. We ask you to follow us on Facebook and share the posts that come out, to like us on Facebook, to follow us on Instagram, and to check in on Meetup. And we also, last one is we have prayer after service. If you would like to sit with a practitioner, will you raise your hand if you're a practitioner in this room? Happy to sit and do prayer with you. We have a ministry of prayer box. You could fill out a prayer request and we'll support you during the week. We have prayer shawls that if you or someone you know would like to be enwrapped in that energy of prayer, you are welcome to take a prayer shawl with you. The practitioners will pray over it before you go for your desired outcome, and then you can gift that to someone or yourself. And so if you'll repeat after me, good fills my life now.
Good fills my life now.
I recognize it. I savor it. I love it. And I live it. And so it is.